recording. Okay, reminder for everyone to please use their microphones when they speak. This is the Village of Cottage Grove Library Board meeting on Wednesday, November 20th at 6 p.m. on the dot for the second time. So I'll officially call to order. We do have a quorum and the agenda was properly posted. This is the number 3, public appearances, public's opportunity to speak about any subject that's not a specific agenda item. There's no one from the public in person. Pete, I know you're on your phone. I don't know if you have anything to say for the library meeting. Okay. We're on number 4, discuss and consider the minutes from the October 16th, 2024 library board meeting. The meeting minutes are linked in the agenda.
I move that we approve the minutes as written.
There's a motion.
Second.
There's a motion by Megan, a second by JP. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. We have no presentations to the library board tonight, and we have no old business. So we'll move to number 7, which is new business. According to Article 3 of our bylaws, this is considered our annual meeting. And so we have a discuss and consider of the annual election of officers.
I move that all current officers serve the next term in their existing offices.
There's a motion.
Second.
There's a second by Ally. So I just want to revisit too that I'm currently the president, JP is the vice president, Eric is the secretary, and Ally is the treasurer as outlined in the bylaws. And do all 4 officers agree to continue into a second term or a continuing term for the next year?
I do.
Yes. Okay. Shaking of heads. So there was a motion, I already forgot, by Megan, and a second by Ally. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Update on the 2025 library board budget. The village board discussed and approved the budgets. Had their public hearing on Monday. Our budget was approved, and the only change was that the transition to the library programming and outreach specialist position, which we had asked for a move to full-time in Q4, will be revisited and discussed by the village board pending the outcome of the referendum or after the referendum for further discussion. Any questions or comments on the library board budgets for this year? We are on C, discuss and consider the name without recognition of the future library to be the Cottage Grove Community Library. Just as we're starting to put together a lot of documents and communicate a little bit more about the potential learning ladder site, I think it's really important that we kind of establish a name moving forward, and obviously we'll take this, the recommendation of the name from this board to the village board too. So open to suggestions or changes and discussion on the name for Cottage Grove Community Library.
I'm just gonna play devil's advocate here. I'm sure there's a reason why it's community versus public, because if you look at a lot of our peer libraries in other municipalities, it's the public library. And I know that's a term that's been in existence for a while. Just for discussion's sakes, can someone explain for me why it's community library?
So I think 2 things that have, the way it's written here. So first, removing the village of. Obviously this is a village library, but it's a little bit more inclusive to just say Cottage Grove. It could be Cottage Grove area, it could be Cottage Grove Public Library, it could be Cottage Grove Community Library. I put community in here because I think there's a lot of community building and community spaces, and knowing that this is beyond books, it's about growing and developing community, which is why I selected that word to be in here versus public library. It obviously will be a public library though.
I agree with what Cindy said, and also, when you say community, there is like an ownership feel to that, like it's everybody's in. Everybody has a piece of it. Hopefully that's helpful.
Absolutely. For me, again, as I said, that's what I agree with, but I'm playing the devil's advocate so we can have a discussion in there just to make sure we are intentional in the name and really that it mirrors what we envision in there. And I know from the get-go and all our communications or thoughts and talking about this, it's been about that community sense, and that's been the primary driver of why this why we want a library, as well as the intentionality between some of the spaces and things that we're doing and designing this library for.
And I think if you go back to the original, and if anyone wants the original documents from 2006 to 2008, it was, I think, community back then as well. This is a discuss and consider.
I motion to approve the name as Cottage Grove Community Library.
Second?
Right, there's a motion by JP, second by, is it Megan?
Mm-hmm.
And just want to also be clear that this is without any recognition or naming rights. So if there wasn't someone that came in at that, for that recognition opportunity at that giving level for a capital campaign, this is what the name would be.
Do I have to amend my motion?
No,
No,
I'm just
okay.
clarifying. All right, I already said, motion by JP, second by Megan.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right, 7D, discuss and consider the donation and naming policy. So this policy is linked in the agenda and outlines the purpose, the donor recognition, which is very important as we move forward with the capital campaign. And then there's also language in here about monetary donations, non-monetary donations, future endowment spending, and some other considerations.
Cindy, do you mind updating the library board on the changes that were discussed and made to this?
So the policy wasn't.
Oh, the policy, sorry, never mind.
Yes.
Ignore me.
Yep, so this is just the policy, which is the first agenda item. There is then recognition opportunities as the next thing we'll talk about. So this policy is something that was requested by the Sweeney Group. It is actually, this policy, the way I wrote it, is very standard across the libraries in the area too. I had some library directors take a look at it.
We're just on the discussion portion, correct?
Correct.
I mean, yeah, I read through the whole thing and it looks really comprehensive in terms of all of the different ways that people might want to donate. I assume that it's been vetted by, again, you said other library, people in the community or in other communities have looked at it, and that this is all fairly standard language in terms of these types of donations with respect to anonymity and tax deductibleness, and that's not a word, but you know what I mean.
Right. So this policy will also likely go to the village board, and the attorneys might need to strike some of the language, at least about the anonymity.
Anonymity,
hard to
yeah.
talk.
Anemones too, yeah.
Yes. But this is, this is very standard. And it gives direction too for the capital campaign, which is why it's in front of you tonight.
I move that we approve the Village of Cottage Grove Library recognition and donation policy as written.
Second?
All right, there's a motion by Megan and a second by Ally. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. 7E, discuss and consider naming opportunities. There is under 7, the Cottage Grove recognition opportunities from 11:15. This was just discussed an hour ago by the Facilities Committee because they've spent a lot of time, putting together the memo of all the spaces. I worked with the Sweeney Group to come up with the different giving levels and the pledge period, which we decided a 3-year pledge period for these naming recognition opportunities is most appropriate in the situation that we have with this building, knowing that it's a renovation versus a new construction. The Facilities Committee had a couple of changes to what you'll see here, and one of them, if you go down to the $50,000 giving level, is changing it to kind of technology through the library center. The moving of the art gallery display walls and the Friends area down to the $10,000 giving level. And then the addition at the 50,000 level of digital services, to be a little bit more specific of digital services. Also, I don't know if I already mentioned this, striking the History of Cottage Grove collection area because there won't be space for that. And I'd also like to add striking of the kitchen appliances because I think we won't be having any type of commercial kitchen or anything like that in this library. And then I also wanted to potentially add a level for senior services. I know we have talked kind of extensively about memory kits, and I think that moving that into the $5,000 giving level might be appropriate here. It's also something that we've kind of identified as a service gap that we'd like to fill. And then outdoor community garden. I'm open to suggestions on where maybe that would fit.
I just want to have a little bit more discussion about the senior
Sure.
level. I hear you at 5,000, but I compare that to possibly some of the things I'm seeing in the $10,000
Okay.
level, especially if we're talking about increasing programming, if we're talking about different materials, different collections that might be geared towards that. I think it's a little bit more comprehensive than some things in the $5,000 level.
Okay.
Personally, I'm open to either, but I just want to have that discussion.
Thoughts from the rest of the board?
I agree. I think it does seem, at least based on what's listed currently in the 5,000 level of kind of tangible specific items like a reading chair, a piece of shelving, the senior services would kind of make, that to me seems more equivalent to some of the stuff in the 10,000 level. The youth services workroom, the, infant play and discovery area, even though it may not be its own whole area, it's a collection and programming. I don't know that it's worth giving it its own level just at 7,500 and splitting the difference, but it does seem like it's not comparable to what's in the 5,000 level, at least as we've discussed it here, unless you want to break it into further categories.
I don't think
Which I
anything
don't
should be
think it
broken
needs to be,
down
right.
even further. Yeah, I can definitely add that in. Can we have a conversation about any kind of outdoor community garden and what level, if we want to add that in, where that would go? I guess there's a $25,000 giving level for the outdoor reading garden.
You mean there's an outdoor community garden listed under $10,000 giving level.
Oh, then I just didn't see it.
No, that's okay. There's a lot of
Yes,
things
it
on
is.
here, so that's why, yeah, it's, the very top
Oh,
line
yes,
of the
'cause it's
second
at the top
page.
of my
Is that
page.
what you,
Yep,
okay.
got it.
Okay.
All right, just want to make sure that it was there.
Nope, that's fine.
And so I had told the facilities committee too, so the outdoor sculpture, eventually you're gonna see reserved next to these, for when people have, tacked their names or, contributed
Pledged
to,
something.
pledged something to these. These are all contingent pledges too on pending a referendum. So the outdoor sculpture is already reserved. And then, the 100 extraordinary women, so will likely be the lobby or the quiet reading area. And they will decide kind of where to go with that.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
In the $10,000 giving level, there's some of the different, essentially, book collections, like fiction collection, nonfiction collection, mystery collection. Is there some reason why those are, like why we have nonfiction, fiction, and then mysteries? It's just, is that a popular one for people to pledge to, as opposed to like the romance books or I don't know.
I'm
I'm just
putting my name's going next to one.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what I'm just curious. Like, should there be other genres that belong on that list then, or is that just kind of typically what's always done?
This is, I think this is typical of what the Sweeney Group at least has
Has
used
seen
before.
in their other
Yeah,
library
so
projects.
I worked
Okay.
with
No, that's great.
Jody Sweeney to come up with these
Okay.
spaces / some of the other things, and then obviously with the facilities in mind, and then also the giving levels to make sure that they're kind of as appropriate as they can be.
Excellent. I was just curious.
So this is a discuss and consider, and then it would, this along with the policy would go to the village board too, before the capital campaign would officially kick off.
I move to approve the Cottage Grove Public Library Center draft recognition opportunities as written.
Second.
Sorry,
With edits.
quick discussion. Eric, would you consider making an amendment to your motion? Because as written is what's presented. I think what you probably are talking about as discussed with the changes.
Yes, I'll make a new motion. I move to approve the Cottage Grove Library Center draft recognition opportunities with edits discussed here tonight.
Second.
All right, there's a motion by Eric and a second by Megan. Any more discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. So we are now on number 8, programming report from Tracy.
Handout here for everybody, there's 6 of each. One is kind of the near-term historical history of the library going back to 2019 with the most recent action by the village board.
Oops.
And then the second is our year in review, similar to what I put together last year. I just wanted to
thanks.
point out that the third lockdown program attendees, that was the number as of November 9th, 2024. So I expect that to hopefully go up by a couple hundred. So you have the program.
You don't have your
tracker.
microphone on.
Oh, I turned it on. It's not staying on.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
Repeat.
Do you want me to repeat what I said?
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry about that. So I just provided 2 handouts. The first handout is the library planning timeline dating back to 2019 with the new addition of the actions taken by the village board in 2024. And the second handout is the year in review from 2024. Looks pretty similar to how it looked last year. And I wanted to point out that the program attendees, 3,402, is as of November 9th, 2024. So that number will go up at the end of the year. Any questions about the 2 handouts?
Can you please make sure that they're available at Village Hall and then also for the village board?
Yes, I have a large stack here. I'll just give those to you afterwards, Cindy, and I'll hang a couple up in the hallway. And Jennifer, I'll make sure you get one of these as well next time I see you. So a few program highlights since the last time we met in October. I wanted to share 3 programs that I think were pretty well received. for your consideration in December as we start to look forward to what next year might look like. I did a bat story time the week of Halloween, and the attendance was overwhelming. There was probably 70 people there at Grace Coffee. It was definitely too many people, but again, we don't like to turn people away. So we've kind of talked, Megan and I have talked specifically about what we kind of think the magic was of that program, so we can hopefully replicate its popularity in future programs. The clay maker space that happened on the November 1st no school day was also very popular. I think we were up to 90 people at that one. Again, the maker space is really an opportunity to be creative and play and explore. There's no rules except don't hurt anybody. And it's really cool to see kids making art projects with adults, with their grandparents, with their high school siblings. It's really kind of a good feel-good program. And then finally, the CPR program that we hosted the second weekend in November here in Village Hall was also very well attended. I think we had 17 or 18 people, including 5 or 6 teenagers, which I know that's the demographic that we've historically really struggled to engage. And that group afterwards asked if we would consider offering this program more frequently. They said it was a great value to be able to refresh their CPR life-saving skills. So that's something we might want to consider next year. A few programs coming up that I would like to highlight. We have a Sensory Santa program as part of Christmas in the Grove. So that is private 10-minute blocks of time where children or families with special needs can spend one-on-one time with Santa without the chaos of a mall or a parade. We have 12 spots available, and only half of those spots are filled. So I would really like to see all 12 spots filled. So if anybody knows of any families in particular that might benefit from that, please pass that along. If you need help finding information, let me know.
What date is that? And
It is the 8th of December, so
Is that
the
the Sunday?
Sunday of
Okay.
Christmas in the Grove. It's 10 to 12 p.m. At Lake Ridge Bank. So we have a Santa coming that has a lot of experience working with families. And then we're partnering with CI Pediatric Therapies to help families and children transition in and out of the space. And then the second program I'd like to highlight coming up is on December 15th. We will be hosting a winter story walk celebration at Community Park. So again, it's kind of a nice feel-good year-end celebration to celebrate our story walk that we have worked hard on this year. We have a group of a cappella high school carolers coming that will be singing for families. The same Santa is coming back to meet with families as well, and the Friends of Cottage Grove Library are going to be donating hot chocolate. So please share that one, invite your friends, let's make it a nice afternoon together. And then 2 other points. The library programming was voted best entertainment for children in Cottage Grove for the year of 2024, so congratulations everybody on that one. And we were also recognized by the national group called Let's Move in Libraries for our Centennial Story Walk celebration. So they featured us on their Facebook page that was seen by people across the country. So good work on that. Any questions? And just to remind everybody, in December, I'll facilitate a workshop where we can talk about our 2024 programming goals, and you can provide me with further direction on where I should take us in the new year.
can you just, how many programs for 2024 and what the attendance has been?
Yes, 115 library programs in 2024 at 23 different venues, and as of November 9th, 2024, we've had 3,402 program attendees. So those numbers are up from last year.
Like 50% up.
I wouldn't anticipate to see that level of an increase in 2025, because as you'll remember, last year we started out slow, and I started out with fewer hours.
Right.
So this year we were really up to full
So
speed.
this is pretty much we're at our ceiling.
At our ceiling with the budget we have.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Tracy. All right, number 9, communications and miscellaneous business. Consider approval of vouchers. The operating accounts expense detail is linked in the agenda.
Move to approve the vouchers.
Second?
There's a motion by JP and a second by Megan. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports, facilities subcommittee that's met an hour
Minutes ago.
ago.
Yeah, so, facility subcommittee, there were, I guess one thing is there, we gave an update on the parking, because that was a topic that was discussed in their last meeting about how the planning commission tabled the proposed ordinance, and then the village board, took it up, but with no action in the last board meeting in there. And that we're gonna continue to do some additional research to help really guide and inform us, especially when we start working with the architect, about what would be appropriate parking for our potential library in there, and then bring it forward to that group. So that was an old business item. New business updates on the architect and engineering due diligence in there, and I can't remember, we talked about this here in this meeting. You're okay. So I will save that for Cindy's report later on. We also had the discussion of the naming opportunities that we already discussed in here. And then we took our remaining time to kind of generate some more ideas about furnishings and fixtures and things that we could possibly be in there. Just, again, get some ideas on what could be included in there. And it was just very much a rough discussion in there. And then that was kind of what we discussed.
Any questions?
Thank you for the report.
Number 11, my reports. So I'll just give you an update, and this will probably just be a standing update on the due diligence efforts by the village board. So we are under contract for the Learning Ladder property with options. We have contracts for architect and engineering, as well as a communications firm for the referendum, and the capital campaign group, which is the Sweeney Group. And so all of those are kind of ongoing. JP and I met with the architect for a couple of hours 2 weeks ago, and the 6th, November 6th. I should know I spent like my whole birthday week doing library things. The main takeaway from that for this board is that the work that the facilities committee and the memo that they put together of all the different spaces and how we would put, if we were the professionals, how we would lay it out, is really actually in agreement with what the architects would also kind of recommend. And so they will be obviously doing a much deeper analysis and providing the necessary information to the village board on renovations and structural engineering and all of the other things that would need to be done to the property. The communications firm is going to be making a project page, so residents can be directed to that for information. And so they'll start gathering information, likely from this board, maybe from the facilities group and the village staff, to put together some very factual information for residents to look at. And the Sweeney Group, obviously we've discussed some of these naming opportunities tonight, and the policy, and we are still kind of putting together some necessary documents, and as well as some working groups, because a lot of it is very much volunteer-led, talking to donors and working on all of those different things. And so there'll be more information and discussion at the village board meeting on December 2nd with regards to how taking obviously the documents that we approved tonight, but giving them to the village board for their ultimate approval, and then kind of moving forward from there. Other than that, I think Tracy covered most of, we've had some office hours. I had a meeting with, actually DPI came to office hours, and so we had a good conversation about just making sure that we're engaging with not only South Central, but also Department of Public Instruction, Libraries Division, because they are both resources, and they are very much aware of what is happening in Cottage Grove and want to definitely be a resource to us. They did say that So back in 2021, I think we submitted the formal letter moving forward with the library project, forming a board and like all the things that obviously have happened since then. They said that that was the most comprehensive packet that they have ever received from a municipality ever in the state of Wisconsin, and they were still talk about it. So that actually was like so nice to hear 3 years later that it was, and that they are still very much, they are talking amongst themselves and having meetings amongst themselves about this project. Yeah, all right. Friends reports, so they, I'm gonna keep this in our agenda. They had Culver's Restaurant Night last night, which I heard was successful. I think we probably all had I'm not looking at you, Megan, because I know that this isn't like a role that we expect you to take on. But I heard it was very successful. And I believe they're running a Giving Tuesday campaign. So Giving Tuesday is a fundraising campaign that occurs the Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
Would be November or December 2nd.
December 2nd. Okay. Future meetings. Our facilities subcommittee is going to meet at 5 p.m. Our next library board meeting is Wednesday, December 18th at 6 p.m. hybrid. And as Tracy mentioned, it is the programming workshop, so it'll be structured as kind of, I think it's a public hearing, but that way, if anyone from the community does come, there can be a good engagement between what we're discussing at the board level. And making sure that we're hitting a lot of our objectives for programming. I don't know if it's worthwhile for this group to take a look at our mission, vision, values right before that, to make sure that we are kind of aligned with, I know we try and do that on an annual basis. Programming being very much essential to kind of the work that we do. We could definitely revisit those in our December meeting too, if that's of interest. There is a programming mission as well, and I think we could take the time to kind of revise that and then move into the programming workshop.
And Cindy, I made a note to myself. I will make a survey or a Google form that community members can fill out with programming recommendations that I can then bring to the board on the 18th.
Are there any other future agenda items? Okay. Well, with that, we've got a strings concert to get to. Is a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
There's a motion by Eric and a second by, was it Megan? I can't tell if that's Lisa over there or not. Non-debatable, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Not debatable.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.